Welcome to Bayanat, the heartbeat of tech in MENA. We bring you raw stories and sharp insights from the founders, investors, and leaders building the region's startup ecosystem. Today, we're taking a deep dive into an organization called TAP, founded by Christian Vezjak, and its really transformative mission to unlock global career opportunities for underserved youth. What's truly groundbreaking here, I think, is how TAP is not just connecting talent to jobs, but transforming a deeply personal quest into a blueprint for potentially a new global asset class, untapped human potential.
Exactly. And for you listening, whether you're a founder, an investor, or, just interested in business, we're going to dissect how TAP is audacious enough to believe that investing in human potential can be as commercially viable as, say, investing in carbon credits. It's fundamentally reshaping the future of work and investment. So we'll explore TAP's journey from that initial personal spark to becoming a scalable, tech-driven solution. We'll look at its unique approach to talent, its business model, and this bold vision for redefining value.
A new asset class. That is a bold claim. Let's definitely unpack the story behind it. And maybe we should start with Christian Vezjak himself. His background is, well, quite unique. Bolivian-born, Slovenian father, Palestinian mother. You can see how that heritage might forge the kind of resilience and empathy that seems central to TAP's mission. He talks about getting his grit from his father's business success, built from hardship, and then this softness, generosity, quiet dignity from his mother's Palestinian side. It's quite a powerful mix.
Yeah, and that deep commitment, it really seems to have solidified during his MBA. He was in France, and that's where he met Jafar Shunar, a Palestinian peer. Apparently, the connection was pretty much instant. A few months later, Jafar invites Christian to visit Nablus in Palestine. And this trip, it wasn't just a casual visit. It became a huge turning point. Christian saw the occupation firsthand, the tension, the systemic barriers people face daily. And it wasn't detached. He felt it. He actually said he realized he couldn't walk away. It was like a personal call to action.
Wow. So he sees this, feels this connection, and realizes he has to do something. How did that translate into figuring out the specific problem TAP needed to solve there in Nablus?
Well, he quickly found out Jafar had started an IT company right there. And what Christian saw wasn't a lack of talent, far from it. For every single job opening, literally hundreds of young, capable Palestinians were applying. The issue wasn't skills, it was this profound, systemic lack of access to opportunity. Imagine all that potential, educated, eager, basically trapped, unable to connect with the global market. It wasn't just economics, it was deeply human. A bridge was clearly needed.
That sounds like such a frustrating bottleneck. Okay, so how do you even start tackling something that big, moving from that personal feeling to a real solution? Especially, for founders listening, what was that first step?
Right, and this is where Christian's, let's say, audacious spirit kicks in. Back in Amsterdam, he manages to connect with the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And luckily, they actually had a mandate to support Palestine. So he pitches this pilot program, the very beginning of TAP, designed to bridge that gap between the youth and companies needing talent. He secured 130,000 euros in starting capital, which is crucial. And here's the real entrepreneurial lesson, I think. Their first big move. Partnering with Gaza's Sky Geeks to place 20 developers into Jafar's company, Kitos. Christian apparently lived by this mantra. When you commit before you know how, that's when you start building for real. Which kind of flips the usual startup advice on its head, right? Usually it's plan, plan, plan. But TAP's early success suggests sometimes you just have to jump, and the how emerges when you're forced to innovate.
That's a really powerful lesson in just doing it. And in those early days, TAP and Kitos, Jafar's IT company, had this really close relationship, right? Almost symbiotic.
Yeah.
Kitos was building software for other startups, but it also acted as the initial funding engine for TAP.
Exactly. Every bit of profit Kitos made went straight back into building TAP. So TAP started out as more of a boot camp, really focused on Palestinian software engineering talent initially.
Okay, and what about their training? Was it just technical skills?
No, and this is quite interesting. Their curriculum was pretty revolutionary, actually. They prioritized what they call power skills. Get this, 80% of the program was on things like presentation skills, cross-cultural communication, how to work effectively remotely, even emotional intelligence in virtual teams. Only 20% was pure technical skills.
80% on power skills. Why such a heavy focus there?
Because they figured technical skills are just the table stakes,
Yeah.
Especially for remote work. What really gets you the job and helps you progress is being able to present yourself well, navigate different team dynamics, communicate clearly. It was a really strategic choice. And based on that insight, they quickly broadened out beyond just software engineers. They started including digital marketing, sales, operations roles, reflecting, the wider unemployment issues and the boom in remote work.
And to help their graduates stand out even more, I understand they collaborated with some big names, trainers and experts from top European consultancies.
They did, yeah. The idea was that getting endorsements from these prestigious players would help open doors for the Palestinian graduates within those networks.
Makes sense.
But, and this is a really crucial pivot for TAP, and maybe a lesson for other impact startups, relying solely on those partners' networks just wasn't sustainable when they tried to scale up. There were bottlenecks, partner capacity, sometimes misaligned incentives, and TAP didn't have direct control over placing people. It created a ceiling.
Ah, okay. So relying on third-party networks has its limits if you want serious scale and impact.
Precisely, which led to a fundamental shift in their model.
So what was the breakthrough then, if external networks weren't the whole answer?
The breakthrough was realizing the real leverage came from empowering the job seekers themselves. They needed to build a system for self-advocacy.
How do they manage that? Convincing partners or even the job seekers to switch to this self-advocacy idea?
It was definitely an evolution. TAP's solution was to build a tech platform, basically, a system that automates a lot of the matchmaking and outreach. So users put in their details, CV, LinkedIn, interests, maybe even personality insights. And TAP's system, driven by AI, gives them personalized recommendations for introductions and helps them craft outreach messages. It's like having a personalized career agent automated. It puts the power in the job seeker's hands to initiate contact directly, armed with good intel. Much more proactive than just firing off applications into the void.
That's a significant philosophical shift, putting the power with the job seeker. But how effective is that in practice, especially in overcoming those hiring biases we know exist?
Well, think about it. Christian has a great quote on this. He says something like, if you're applying on LinkedIn from Syria or Lebanon, the AI might reject you before a human ever sees your name, which is often true, sadly. But, he says, if someone inside the company knows you, believes in you, and has met you, your odds transform entirely.
Right, that personal connection bypasses the initial algorithmic filter.
Exactly. So TAP's system, by enabling that self-advocacy and facilitating those direct introductions, effectively gets around some of that inherent bias. And by using tech to drive this, they've also managed to drastically cut their operational costs. That makes the whole program more affordable and, crucially, much more scalable. That's key if you want to reach underserved populations globally.
Okay, so this leads us to the critical question for, founders and investors listening.
Yeah.
Monetization, sustainability. Right now, TAP gets funding from government and NGO grants. Christian calls this the aid economy. What does he mean by that, and why is it limiting for scaling up as a business?
Yeah, the aid economy point is important. It's not just about where the money comes from. It often means things like project-based funding, strict reporting tied to social metrics, not necessarily market sustainability. That makes it really hard to build a self-sufficient, venture-backable company that can grow beyond those grant cycles. So TAP's big strategic move is towards a sustainable, market-driven model. The goal is to use AI to get costs super low so they can offer an affordable option directly to users B2C, but also develop a B2B offering for companies. Because as their user base grows, the value for companies looking for diverse, high-quality talent just skyrockets. You get access to this broad, pre-vetted global talent pool, and they're already seeing traction. You mentioned 2025, they placed talent with over 60 companies in more than 40 countries, all remote jobs. That shows real market demand.
That level of traction definitely suggests potential for solid monetization models. Things like companies paying for placements or maybe sponsoring cohorts, or even a subscription for access to the talent platform.
Precisely. They're exploring all of those. And this is where Christian brings in that really compelling analogy. It sort of elevates the whole vision. He compares this moment to the early days of the climate movement. Remember how climate tech struggled for market traction? Now carbon credits alone are a multi-billion-dollar industry, driven by awareness and market mechanisms. TAP's thesis is that youth in underserved regions are an equally vital global asset. The world is just starting to recognize that potential. And TAP is building the model to prove that investing in this human capital isn't just impactful, it's commercially viable.
Yeah.
It's not just social good. It's presented as a genuine investment thesis, challenging how we value global resources.
That really is a disruptive way to frame human capital. And it explains why Christian seems so clear about sticking with a for-profit model, even when some investors apparently suggested going the NGO route. He talks about real impact and sustainability going hand in hand, and acknowledges it's tough, like building infrastructure that does not exist and maybe not profitable right away. He's arguing that a venture-scale business is the right engine for this kind of change.
Absolutely. And it seems like that perspective, reframing a social problem as a huge market opportunity, ultimately resonated. While some investors might have initially seen it as too NGO-ish, others clearly saw the venture potential. TAP closed a $1 million seed round, led by Wamda Capital, in late 2023. And crucially, they supplemented that equity with over $3 million in government grants for the early R&D and training, kind of like non-dilutive capital for the risky early stuff. That dual approach shows real confidence in this unique vision.
And it all comes back to redefining success, doesn't it? For TAP, success isn't just about the number of placements they directly make. It's more about equipping people with the tools, the mindset, the confidence to land jobs themselves, putting the power back in their hands.
Which begs the question, how do you measure that empowerment? Well, TAP uses this key metric called self-placement. In 2024, out of 116 total job placements, 56, nearly half, were self-placements. These are jobs people found entirely on their own, using TAP's tools, applying, networking, navigating the process.
That's impressive.
It really is, because those wins show the system is working as designed, enabling underserved youth to advocate for themselves and grab opportunities independently. It's a powerful validation, and maybe something for you listening to think about in your own talent or impact initiatives, focusing on that true self-sufficiency.
TAP's journey is definitely still ongoing. Christian himself says we're still becoming whatever it is we're meant to be. But it certainly feels like there's immense potential here, building commercially viable, scalable solutions for massive global challenges like youth unemployment. Really something to watch.
For more stories like this, subscribe to Bayanat's newsletter and stay updated on the latest in MENA's tech and startup ecosystem.